What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in effect. You know what we're repping here. America, the center, and above all, common sense. This one goes out to all the trans youth in America and around the world. Remember what I always say. It might not get better, but you will get stronger. Fetty, salute. Another Fetty jam. There we go. Got to do it proper. So anyhow, with all that being said, I'll take you a little bit into the world of my work. I test fire alarms, and I train people to do it. And recently I had two recruits. One recruit basically just took notes, asked really intelligent questions, and excelled, became an all-star. Recently we had a company meeting, and I introduced this person as the rookie of the year, our next all-star. The other recruit pretty much thought he grasped the basics right off the bat. Yeah, okay, maybe. Didn't really ask a lot of questions, spent a lot of time complaining, got into stupid feuds with people on our team, and complained to management. And when I reacted poorly to that strategy, complained to management about me. At the end of the day, don't think that dude's going to work out. The other recruit, who happens to be a female, will work out. And why? Because she worked on solutions to the problems. She took the criticism, took things on board. That is very important in this day and age. We have to be resolute against the stupidity of all of the talking heads, maybe just like myself. You have to figure out who to listen to. I work for an awesome company. It's an awesome opportunity. And this lady, she's in her 40s. It's never too late to take that step for the rest of your life. But always recognize the opportunities that are being given to you. That's one in the world of politics. It's never too late to change your mind. It's never too late for us to form a new party that embraces common sense, that embraces our differences, loves and celebrates our differences, doesn't sit there and make fake promises, tries to work for common sense solutions. In the American Revolution, there were a lot of different players who had different parts. Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense. He wrote about the ideals of this revolution. That's who I'm trying to be. That's why common sense is my number one theme. Not just because it sounds good, but because that is the answer. Common sense. We're going to see some of that coming up, where there's all of this BS, and then there's common sense. Man, yeah, I broke out the OG blue jacket there. That's from my first video and most of my early work. Yeah, I'm listening to the birds in the background right now. And let's get into some mental irregularities. I'm outraged. This is killing kids. Fentanyl. This is killing a lot more. They don't have a solution to one, and they don't have a solution to the other, but at least with guns, they have this whole thing of gun control. Yeah, there is a way to combat guns in America, and it's called law enforcement. It's called going after people who use guns, going after people who illegally sell guns. But y'all ain't doing that. You're finding reasons to let these people out. You're finding reasons to let fentanyl dealers out. And then you just want to blame the gun because your side is so freaking brainwashed into believing everything that you say. Man, you got a great excuse for it. Same thing with that other school shooting. We're going to run around and we're going to try to figure out, what gun to blame. And now, person seemingly is transgender, so hey, let's blame that too. But meanwhile, we're sending millions and millions of dollars to fight a war that really doesn't seemingly benefit us. I mean, I do see the benefit of standing up to Russia, but I mean, I'm not entirely sure Russia's the problem, that we were having pre-Ukraine. Obviously, it is now. This one just incorporates a couple dumb things. The whole idea of reparations, California passes $5 million in reparations for black people whose gifts have been ever used by a white person. We're finding new ways to divide us because the reality is we're coming together. More and more people don't care about race. They don't care about orientation. They don't care about these differences. They just simply don't give a shit. It's about common interests. It's about being a good person, gelling with a person, vibing with a person. So now they have to turn around and say, well, white people use black people gifts, it's digital blackfacing, and we're going to pay reparations. They're just buying votes. That's all they're doing. They're buying votes. They can't earn your vote, so they buy it. Rob Bonta, this guy's just a mental irregular. I mean, he's got this message. I get his email, one thing I pride myself on is I listen to both sides, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying that's what I do. But, he's talking about, oh, look what we got. A court sanction against Google, a denial of Amazon's attempt to evade antitrust lawsuit, and a new law to increase transparency and accountability in the gas industry. Y'all put so many taxes on gas. That's why it's expensive. You put so many regulations on it. You make the gas companies jump through all these hoops that no other state does. And you wonder why gas is expensive? Right? Google, Amazon, pretty sure they're not my problem. Pretty sure they're not what's dragging my life down. And then he sums it up. Be it big tech, be it e-commerce or big oil, there's no free passes for corporations that don't play by the rules. What about big government? Because you're not playing by the rules. We said we want to keep the death penalty. Newsom got rid of it. We say we want safe streets. They do the opposite. We say we want a solution to the homeless problem. They give us little houses and let these people still live amongst the community without getting any real help. So these people, idiots. Oh, boy. So Trump had a big rally. And, one of the headlines, tax transgender rights, saying that he will ban disfigurement of our youth. Really? So you're saying that somebody who has that surgery has been disfigured? Now, I mean, never mind that there's less than 300 of these surgeries for youth around the country. Let's make that the big deal. Sure, let's make that the rallying cry. Let's placate the extremes, right, Trump? Trump has a unique opportunity to be way more purple, and he doesn't do it. Oh, I'm going to revoke every Biden policy. Well, yeah, revoke the dumb ones. If there's stuff in there that's stupid, please revoke it. Parents' rights, yeah, universal school choice. I mean, I have to pay for my daughter to go to school because all the other free solutions just didn't work. He's, again, I do agree with him that critical race theory should not be taught. I mean, anything that disregards Martin Luther King and says Lincoln didn't do enough, that's pretty phony and should definitely not be taught in school. But then again, I also don't think that UFOs, religion, there's lots of things we don't need to teach in school. Critical race theory is one of them. He was right when he talks about Biden's regime weaponization of law enforcement against political opponents. That's 100% true. It might cut both ways, but I see much more clearer instances out of the Democrats. And, again, I don't know why he has to go after DeSantis. I think that together they would form somewhat of a formidable team. But again, both of them need to pull towards the middle to placate me, to be honest with you. Speaking of Trump, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. D.A. Bragg. And yeah, he's bought and paid for. These bought and paid for by these Soros-type people, they don't have the agenda of safe streets. They have more agenda of safe criminals. But when they can sink their teeth into something that raises their national profile, oh, they're going to jump at it. Maybe Trump did something wrong. Let's find out. But I don't think so. I don't think so. And it's certainly not a bigger deal than some of the other crap that Bragg's just letting go. Democrats remind everyone Trump is guilty until proven guilty. That sounds about right, doesn't it? Biden relieved after learning the president being indicted for shady financial dealings is just Trump. Yeah. Both of them have shady deals, right? One is the current president. See, that's the difference. Nobody wants to talk about the money the Chinese gave them. No. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about Hunter Biden and goodness knows how many crimes he could have committed. No, they don't want to talk about that. They go to their scapegoat, Trump, and their side goes, yeah, you're going after Trump. And they just ignore all the bullshit that you're pulling and all the stuff you're not doing. Cartoon Network celebrates Trans Day of Visibility by teaching kids to use pronouns. It shows respect. Yeah, that's all it is. It's not a damnation of your Christian values to simply show respect. It's not that big of a deal. This was on March 31st, the Transgender Day of Visibility. They should be allowed to be who they are. Yes, there needs to be guidelines for certain things in society because their issues bring up these types of issues. You know? We have to sort through issues whenever there's change or, you know, something new comes along. We have to look at it and we have to view both sides and try to come to a common sense approach. James Owens here. You know, like I said, I follow people I disagree with too, you know. And Biden here, I think, you know, had a really good message. On Transgender Day of Visibility, we want you to know that we see you just as you are, made in the image of God and deserving of dignity, respect, and support. We'll never stop working to create a world where you won't have to be brave just to be yourself. You won't have to be brave just to be yourself. That's what it's all about. I think he chose made in the image of God to piss people off. I think that's pretty clear. And with James Owens, it obviously worked. But look at the end. You know, man, trans people don't need a day of it. I'm not even going to read that out loud. But that's nonsense, dude. That's absolute nonsense. You know, you wouldn't want gun owners put on that list. You wouldn't want people of color put on that list. I mean, you appear to be a person of color. So you would think that you would understand your statements. But, I mean, it'll be interesting to see because that's some bullshit, dude, to say. And again, you're talking about a God that some people believe in. Your God, your version. That's not my version of the story, bro. My version is I'm supposed to love and I'm not supposed to judge. You know? I could critique. I could offer an alternate solution. But I can't say somebody's going to hell. That ain't my job. It ain't your job. Quite frankly, of all the people I've seen, this is one that deserves a ban. Because that's some bullshit what you're saying down there. But you know, on the flip side, you know, it doesn't really help when Disney puts out a show where they cite a book that talks about white fragility and it targets U.S. President Abraham Lincoln, who they portray as an inadequate defender of civil rights. See, it doesn't help when the side that's defending trans people are also on the same side that talk about white fragility and Abe Lincoln didn't do enough. Come on. And this kind of crap. California Dems approved plan to let kids enroll in group homes without parental consent. And it's basically going right back to that. That mental health professionals can take custody of children whose parents don't support their efforts to change genders. Well, what other things? Where does this lead? This opens up a real slippery slope. You think your kid is just odd, so you reject them, so you end up in a group home? What about giving the parents time to adjust, or to give the parents time to grow? You know, that can happen too. This kind of stuff, you know, this is a social worker told lawmakers that the law would empower school counselors to send children straight to a group home if the children say their parents don't approve of their transgender identities. Boom, just like that. No process. World Athletics came out and basically said transgender women need to have transition before male puberty. Martina Navratilova echoing what a lot of people are saying, we need to have an open category. Just have an open category. Anybody can compete in it. There you go. Boom. Done. Problem solved. But that's not enough. Why is it that the activists insist that somebody like Leah Thomas, who went through male puberty, obviously had a male advantage? Obviously did. And at the same time was ultimately watching women change and changing in front of women. Full exposure. You know, how is that a helpful thing? Well, the World Athletics, they got it right. They have to maintain fairness for female athletes. You have to balance it somehow. There you go. Put these in wrong order here. This is just, you know, again, zero bail. What is your focus with these DAs and these governors? You know, the study in Yolo County, 70% of defendants released for free. Twice as likely to commit a new crime. Suspects were 3 times as likely to be rearrested for committing a violent crime under zero bail. And a lot of those, you got to remember, a lot of those zero bails also include like DUIs. So just normal people who had too much to drink. So those are the people who aren't reoffending. A lot of people can be arrested and released on free bail that aren't, you know, committing a serious crime of any sort. So 70%, that's probably a lot, probably 100% of the actual bad actors. Anyhow, oh my God, I'm not going to get into those details. But California has passed a lot of propositions trying to help, and none of them really, they lacked common sense safeguards. And that was the problem. And that's the problem we're seeing right now in society. Everybody wants to remove the safeguards and just go willy-nilly. And it's stupid. And one of the stupidest ones is climate change. Really is. It's a boondoggle. When you've been on this planet for over 50 years, you've already seen the hysteria several times. The eastern seaboard at one point was supposed to be frozen over by now. Like 20 years ago, the Hudson River was supposed to be like solid ice. That didn't happen. But now Biden is going to pledge taxpayer money to support young climate activists around the world. And it's going to cost a lot, $150 billion, to building an equitable world with net zero greenhouse gas emissions. They put net zero in because they have these bullshit carbon credits. You've probably heard about it, but whatever. But they're concerned with the increased energy consumption in developing nations. And they want to promote green energy and get climate activists into these countries. Daniel Turner here says it best, that it punishes the developing world by refusing them to have what we have, which is the prosperity that comes from fossil fuels. Because whether you believe it or not, look around you. Fossil fuels are what drives our industry, has driven our success. It's just a simple fact. Fossil fuels include things like plastic. Remember that. It's horrifying to think that we spend tax dollars giving it to poor countries to create more Greta Thunbergs. There's nothing charitable about that. If anything, it's the epitome of first world privilege. How is that wrong? How is that statement wrong? Think about that. It's exactly right. We want to deny other countries the rights to do what they need to do to survive and prosper. And instead of developing better technologies using what we have, they just want a bunch of teenagers to go out and yell and scream, block roads, and glue themselves to paintings. Because that'll solve something. And look where some of that money went. $78,000 went to a Palestine activist group whose leaders praised a man who murdered a U.S. military attaché. You see what I mean? They sent millions of dollars to the Eco Health Alliance, the research group that funded bat virus research at Wuhan. I don't know. That seems significant because it's in the article. I don't know what bat virus and Wuhan have to do with anything. And meanwhile, John Kerry flies around in a private jet because he justifies the other people because apparently John Kerry sold his jet. Oh, okay. He probably just rents it, which is super expensive in of itself. But they buy offsets. The offset is to buy so-called carbon credits. If you were concerned about the environment, you would stop flying a private jet and buy carbon credits. See, offsetting the damage that you're doing is still doing damage. Dummies. Oh, God, National Geographic cancels popular geography beat because of equity. The time-honored geography contest GeoBee is now history. Permanently discontinued, citing issues about equitable participation. Seriously? Seriously? You're literally like saying, well, if certain people can't possibly win, then we're not going to have the contest. Okay. Man, you are playing games with the youth of America. Kids that are good at something like geography, maybe we should be promoting them more instead of figuring out ways to end their competitions because certain groups are smart and other groups don't even participate. Whatever. See, where are their priorities? Going after Google? Going after the oil companies? As fentanyl deaths surge in California, lawmakers kill bills that would punish dealers. Fentanyl killed 6,000 people in California. What about guns? Where's that number? I'm not even going to look at that number because I know it's way lower than that. But what are they worried about? Well, really neither, because they don't do anything about gun crime anyhow. But, some of the bills that they voted down were issuing a warning to convicted fentanyl dealers that they could face homicide charges and other increased sentences for fentanyl dealers. It's a serious epidemic. This isn't some silly war on pot. This is a deadly drug that is being put into other drugs to create addicts. And those addicts will die. And at the very least, their lives and the lives of the people who love them will suffer. And the lawmakers are doing nothing about it. The feds are doing nothing about it. They blocked putting fentanyl on Schedule A, where weed is. Oh, my God. So earlier I was talking about somebody who should have been banned. Here's one that was banned. This cartoon was blocked on Facebook. Maybe some of that stuff you could argue were sort of like, maybe masks did work in this context or that context, but overall it didn't work. It didn't slow the spread. The lockdowns, they didn't do anything. Everybody violated them, including our own governor. The open border, where COVID came from, who cares where COVID came from? It probably did come from Wuhan. Who gives a shit? Doesn't matter. Didn't come from here. That's all I know. And yeah, they covered up the laptop. And the Russia-Trump collusion was a hoax. But this was banned because this is the kind of information that will erode a political party and should erode a political party. And more people with a voice should act like Bronco and put it out there and own up to their side's mistakes too. Anyhow, how did we not see this back in the day? This is the best of. Just in case you're wondering how this is tied in politically, it's not. I just thought that was really cool. Sometimes the internet does good stuff. See that? Hate haters, defund police, blame guns. Those are the kind of things that one side is promoting. They're promoting hate haters. They are promoting hate while trying to stomp out hate. They are releasing criminals who use guns, but restricting legal gun owners. And yeah, they're way beyond prayers. Man walking through mall ends up in 17 TikTok videos. Yeah, enough with that bucket challenge, man. That woman got hurt because of the bucket challenge. I guess that's what they call it. They just put a bucket over somebody's head. I mean, I could see that. I used to do stupid stuff like that when I was younger. Mine was to tie thread onto the tail of a mouse and release it to the lower level of the mall. And then when somebody saw the mouse, I would pull up on the thread. Not exactly the nicest thing, but, No, we returned the mouse. In a pet store. We used to have live animals inside the mall. So stupid. Scientists discover a strong correlation between trusting government and eating paint. Yep. Our government needs to earn our trust. Have they earned your trust? Buffalo guy tagged her, at least back in the wild. Oh, that's funny, man. B was on his... I love it because, I mean, no matter what you believe about this is just funny in and of itself. You don't have to be political. There are a lot of those this week. New evidence suggests walls of Jericho fell after Joshua finished 6 sacks solo. That was hard to say. Oh, man, the 80s and the sacks back then. Wow. I grew up with a lot of that, man. Ooh. Sade. After massive Disney layoffs, Snow White down to just 3 dwarfs. Who gives a shit about the politics of that joke? That's funny. That is funny. Come on. Come on. New Call of Duty game comes out while you're still trying to download last Call of Duty game. And somebody... They must have a lot of different personalities on that staff over at Babylon Bee because, they sometimes just nail shit that you wouldn't think that they would even understand. Doctors report startling rise in testicular injuries among women athletes. Yeah. Folks, we have to be able to laugh about stuff like that. One of our core common grounds is humor. There's shit out there that is a bit, suspect or whatever word, problematic or whatever. And we have to be able to laugh at it. Because if we could joke back and forth, then we could be together. If we have to watch every word we say around people, then it makes it harder. And you could see that one group is really pushing for that. And that's one thing about Purple State Party. We have to have a humor, man. We have to be able to laugh about some of these differences. We have to be able to bond over common interests. We can't be separated. We need to come together. And we need to find that common ground based on common sense for the common man. Common, common, common. It's a theme. But it's also a solution. Common good. Common sense. Common ground. That's how shit gets done. What we're doing right now, it ain't working. And you can blame whatever side you want, but it still ain't working. I hope that was fun. I hope you like and subscribe. Let's, build this into a true revolution. This week, I went down to San Diego to their Air and Space Museum. An incredible museum. I mean... just the Hall of Fame, reading about the different people who have advanced aviation was pretty incredible. I highly recommend it. It's at Balboa Park. But in there, they had some cool stuff. I'm a World War II guy. And they had parts from a Japanese plane that attacked Pearl Harbor. They had a full-size Zero, the notorious Japanese fighter plane from World War II. Took out a lot of our guys. And there was a display about a kamikaze pilot. And next to it was a bomb fragment a chunk of bomb that had been dropped on U.S. soil at Dutch Harbor in Alaska. And there were just these visceral reminders. And I mean, they even had an ashtray from one of our bombers. You know, imagine that. You know, you're flying on these multi-hours, so, you know, ungodly amount of flight time to get to our targets, you know, and you got your ashtray there because everybody smoked back then. It's little fragments that were just really showed the visceral side of the war. Bomb fragments, parts of planes, the stories, you know, the Yorktown, Midway, all of these glorious victories that we had, you know, Pearl Harbor, you know, a devastating defeat. And when we were done in that museum, we went up the road a little ways, and we went to a Japanese garden. And it was beautiful. It was magnificent. And what really struck me in that moment was, at one point, Japan was our enemy, our sworn enemy, a day that would live in infamy. But yet, even somebody like myself who, you know, loves World War II, you know, hated the Nazis, hated the Germans, hated the Italians. We got past that. We moved on. We made our peace. Abraham Lincoln said one of his greatest accomplishments was turning enemies into friends. Germany, Italy, Japan. Think about that. We need to do that in politics. We have had some ugly battles recently. And if those two sides are never going to be able to come together, if they're never going to find common ground, then we need to make our own common ground. That's as simple as I can make it. We have to find our own common ground to make this country prosper, to allow this country to survive. We can't sit here and be okay. Oh, my side won, your side lost, blah, blah, blah. We can't do that anymore. We need to build our own common ground, our own political party. A group that speaks for the common man and for common sense. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party. And so are you. Love one another, man. Find ways to love, not hate. And when you feel that hate coming on, just remember, dance it out.